Welcome back to the Conspiracy Hour.
This is third down.
Yeah, third down. Welcome to the third down. So conspiracy theories. You know, I talked about it by myself last week, and
I felt left out.
Yeah, he was mad. He texted me. He was like, "God damn it!"
Like that's what I wanted to talk about.
That. Fuck all this football shit. So I wanted to talk about it again. I won't bore you with. Well, I will. I'll bore you with my takes again. But I'll let Dannon kind of talk about how he feels about him. But JFK was the first one I brought up.
Right.
You don't obviously believe that it was just Lee Harvey Oswald, do you?
Well, I mean, the fact that Jack Ruby took him out right after,
Yeah, that's kind of
telling.
And they were also just like walking him, like two cops, like walking him through a crowd, like, nothing to see here, just a man that killed the president.
And didn't Jack Ruby work for the CIA or some shit?
Yeah. He was also killed in jail. Jack Ruby was killed in jail, so that's usually the conspiracy there is that's how it goes. So, but
that one's pretty no-brainer to me.
And I wasn't alive for it, but when you look up more about everything that JFK stood for, and he was very anti-war.
Somebody wanted to take him out. A lot of people wanted.
Yeah, he was not going to get away with this, and there were plenty of people in America that had agendas of why they wanted to take him out.
He was trying to clean up the corruption, I believe, in Washington, and you can't. They ain't gonna have that shit, man.
Ask not what your country can. What is it? Ask not
what you can do. What your country can do for you.
Ask what you can do for your country. But he was. A lot of his speeches. Like I watched this one whole speech about how he didn't want stuff being private from what the government is doing, as far as NSA, FBI, CIA. He was very like.
Oh damn, that's why, dude. You can't go after the CIA.
But he was. He just wanted it. It wasn't that he was going after it. He said that it should be presented to the people. That it shouldn't be something that we keep secret. It should be something that we talk about out in the press. Absolutely. I mean,
but that's why they took him out. For sure.
Absolutely. And they've done the little they
took out his son.
They've done so many tests where they've tried to do the amount of shots that were shot, the amount of gunshots that you hear, and the accuracy from the distance that he supposedly did this from. There's no fucking way. The magic bullet is fucking ridiculous.
Knoll.
Yeah, there was somebody on the grassy knoll.
How many people were in the car?
I think there was him, his wife, security, and a governor next to him. There's two security in the front, and then there was a governor or somebody. There was a senator or somebody sitting next to him. Anyways,
that's one of the Mandela effects, is how many people were in the JFK car, because there was 6 apparently.
Oh, really?
It was like a 6-seater. There was the two agents driving, and then him and Jacqueline were in the back, and then there was like the governor of
something
Texas
like
and his
that,
wife or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. And the governor got hit.
I don't know.
Yeah, he got hit in the leg. And the security guard in the front got hit through the arm, and I think the
So do they
chest.
know how many shots were fired then?
They do. Well, that's the thing, is that they don't. The whole thing is
yes, but they won't tell you.
Yeah, they're like, one shot was fired from Lee Harvey Oswald. That's enough questions. Questions. No, but I mean, I think that at the end of the day, that Donald Trump was going to out. He was when he was about to say a bunch of secrets, he was going to talk about aliens, and he was going to talk about JFK, and he got shut down at the last minute. That's why he can't let people like Donald Trump be president, because they're like, what? Holy shit!
Well, Donald Trump once said that he was going to try to clean up the shit too.
Yeah,
so.
he did. Yeah, it's impressive that there was never an assassination attempt against him. I thought so too. I don't mean just because of that stuff, but I mean just because of how polarizing he was. Like, it's crazy that nobody ever made an attempt. Not that I ever heard of.
I don't know if I've ever seen anybody hated so more than Donald Trump.
Yeah. Aliens.
Also a no-brainer, at least to me.
No-brainer. Yeah.
I mean,
and we have
the probability.
Well, and now with everybody having a camera in their pocket, there's a lot of footage, bro.
Yeah.
Like, if you go online, you go down the rabbit hole of UFO sightings on YouTube, you will be there for days.
Oh, yeah?
You will be there for days and days
Maybe
and
I'll
days.
go down that rabbit
going,
hole.
holy shit. Oh, what the fuck is that? Oh, what the fuck is that? So, One of the things that I talked about on last week's podcast with the aliens that I had never really thought about, but Jeremy Corbyn was on Joe Rogan, and he did the Bob Lazar documentary, and so he's a big UFO head, and he gets all this stuff. And one of the things that he recently came across that I had never really thought about, but it might be my new alien, that might be what it is. He said, think about how far we've come in technology in 100 years. Well, think about how far we'll be in 2,000 years, 3,000 years, 4,000 years. Our technology could be so far advanced that we could have time machines, interdimensional, being able to jump back and forth from dimensions or whatever you want to call it. And why would it not make sense that if we're that far in the future, let's say 4,000 years from now, we're still us human beings on this earth and we've just figured out how to survive and whatever's happened to the planet has happened. And we're like, you know what? Let's go back in time and see the dinosaurs, see when the civilization started, see the pyramids, that's why there's sightings all throughout time. We have, ancient paintings in Mayan, ruins where it looks like there's a UFO that they drew in the sky. And it's like, yeah, because now the other possibility that they're from another planet, I can totally see that too. And I can see that.
But we know that there's galaxies that are billions of years older than us.
For sure.
And so, again, same theory. They have this technology.
Yeah. It might not even. They could have this technology and be jumping dimensions or jumping planets and not even be from here. I totally see that as a possibility as well. But the big thing is that if you believe that there are not aliens.
It's just the probability is too.
It's just crazy. Yeah. That's crazy that you would believe that.
There's aliens.
There's absolutely aliens.
I think the FBI actually released. Didn't they say that?
Yeah, they actually released a lot of footage recently, like the Commander Fravor. The Commander Fravor footage that they have is from a Navy pilot that is, or an Air Force pilot. I don't know. I think they're in the Navy, but the Navy are out there and they see this little. They call it a tic tac. They can see this thing on their radar, and they are filming it from the cockpit footage has film of this little thing just moving super fast. They're flying super fast, and then it sits, and then in a blink of a second it disappears. And when it disappears, it ends up back at their cap point, which is so it interferes with their radar when it disappears, and then it ends up the ship, the Navy ship that's right there, can see it where their meeting point, the Navy's meeting point for these planes. They were going to go out, do a route that they had mapped out that they were going to do, and they were going to meet back at this point, and that's where that thing showed back up on the radar. So it looked at the Commander Fravor, who was on the Joe Rogan, said there's no other possibility in my mind than it looked in our manifold, it went into our technology and saw where we were going to meet, and then it went there. He's like, there's nothing else you can tell me. Why would it go to that random spot that was also 20,000 feet below where they were at the moment? So it went 20,000 feet in a blink of a second, and it ended up in the exact spot that they were going to meet at. So it's like, he was like, that was, to me, that was the moment where I realized this is not of Earth, or this is not something that we're doing. This is something that's beyond us.
Right.
And there are 100% aliens. There are 100% aliens, and I think over time they might give us more and more information, because I think as they've slowly started to put stuff out, I think that back in the day they thought there would be an uprising. I think back in the day this country was so Christian and they were so right-wing that they just thought if we released that there are
everybody
UFOs,
freak out.
everybody would freak the fuck out. But
it would though. I never even thought about that, because it just throws a fucking wrench in any of your religious beliefs.
Yeah. You say that, the Bible is very specific. So if you believe what the Bible says and you go with that, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, by the way, there's this thing. There's also an infinite other amount of possibilities. Jesus die for them too? That's not the only possibility, by the way. If you say that to a Christian, they go, oh, you're a liar! Yeah. Jesus was stabbed through here and hung like this. yes, and it's
which
like,
is
okay.
maybe probably true.
probably.
But, like, I'm sure they did kill him.
Sure.
No, I mean, but
I don't
just
know. I'm actually going down the road of that a lot of the Jesus story is probably made up, because if you look at
because the
Old
Catholic
Testament
Church,
to New Testament is
yeah.
so funny to me, because what is it? The Old Testament is like the wild shit where it's like
all the
Abraham and
God was
killing
angry back then.
angry as fuck, right? So, but the Old Testament, like, people just kind of more accept that those are fables, those are stories to kind of give you like an anecdote that you can take out of it, where you can take like you can take a story and go, oh well, what you're supposed to learn from that is to like
from this,
be a better father, or like be a better neighbor, or something like that, you know. But then the New Testament, that's all about Jesus, that's about his life, and that's about what he did and how he died for our sins, and this man came and was a perfect man, and we could have been perfect, but we couldn't handle it, so God took it back. It's so ridiculous. But the point is that I think that even though that follows one storyline, which is Jesus Christ, it's still equally as batshit crazy. It's still equally as crazy. And I think that when they were coming up with these stories, because the reason for these stories was because they were passing these down from generation to generation to try to teach you.
You weren't writing them down,
but it was to make the young people know the difference between right and wrong.
Right.
You know? They had a sense of what murder was wrong.
Right.
So let's come up with a story about
to give
why
you,
murder was wrong.
Some moral foundation.
And why the gods told us that murder was wrong.
But the other thing with religion is it's a very good way to control a massive amount of people. And so that once the kings start taking over these
and
religions,
they didn't realize
and then there's a country's religion because that's what your fucking king believes.
And you think pharaohs and shit didn't figure that out as well?
Well, then they write it down.
Yeah.
They change the shit they want to change because they're doing it now.
And they make that law.
Yeah,
they make that's what everybody has to follow. You all have to believe in the king this and the king that, and the god of this and the god
of
the
fucking Roman Catholic Church. That's where they got all this shit from.
Exactly.
Anyways, we went way far down that one.
Well, but it's true. I mean that's why they won't release the stuff about aliens, is because of that. It's because of the
they don't want mass hysteria. People saying, well, fuck,
but now
what's the point?
I think now they realize that people are a little more accepting of the fact that
everybody's got their head up their ass, man. Nobody even gives a shit.
Yeah, it's true. So
nothing shocking anymore.
They released a bunch of that stuff, and you really didn't. Yeah, you were like, oh yeah, well, makes sense.
But I think so. That's the conditioning of the movies and shit like that. So the movies that they're making, there's truth behind them, and it conditions your mind over time, right? So we've seen so many fucking movies and TV shows about aliens and shit that now you're like, oh, they're real. Yeah, we figured they're
it's true. Like when you look back at like My Favorite Martian, they thought that was like funny. They were like, like there is actually somebody from Mars. But now we have done so much more footage that we've unpacked, and then it led us to, you know what? We should make it Independence Day or Alien, or we should make these movies where there could be things that are out there. And then we go and watch that and we go, man, that was a crazy movie, but I mean, it's possible, right?
And now that it's true, you're like, it doesn't really change. And it doesn't, I mean, like,
it doesn't change my mind at all.
Well, maybe not always, but
I think most people always accepted the fact that there probably is something else out there.
Especially, gotta be. I mean, come on. Yeah. It's just the probability is just...
And it goes from understanding space, which I guess the next couple of the moon landing and the flat earth go... And I said this last week, I'm of the Eddie Bravo mindset, which is don't believe shit. Yeah. So if you go into space and NASA and all of that with that I don't believe them, that's the only way that you can accept the next two things that I'm about to say, which are the moon landing and flat earth. The only way that you can accept those conspiracies and truly like open your mind to it is that you have to believe that they've lied to you about space. And that what space is...
They made it all up.
They made it all up. Yeah. And... I mean, is this the Truman Show and we're all living in a bubble? And,
I suppose it's possible.
And they're watching us? Is this a simulation?
Somebody's watching?
Simulation. Is this the Matrix? You know? I don't know. But I do know that a lot of what they say about space is so fantastical that it makes me like, I mean, it could be a lie. Sure. Like, how the fuck do I know that what they've told me about space is real? How do I know? How do I know what they told me about the moon is real? About the gravity and what it looks like. I know I can see it. At night, I can look up and go, look, that's the moon.
It takes a certain level of faith.
It takes some faith. It takes some faith in science.
We can see that they built the fucking Hubble telescope, and what's this new telescope, right? We can see that they've done it. They have footage of all that. They have footage of them launching it.
Yeah.
We have footage of, essentially these rockets disappearing.
We think. Yeah. We think.
Well, you can see the fucking rocket.
We can see it disappearing. Up into something that we think is the sky. That we, I mean, listen. You go if you go down this rabbit hole, you have to believe that like every time you've gotten an airplane, there's been some sort of controlled. They're like running a fucking screen underneath you, and they're just But then there's been airplane crashes. So a lot of it too. Like I've let go of the fact. Originally, when I thought about this, I was like, "Fuck yeah, NASA's lied to me about everything." But then it was like. So many people have worked on stuff.
That's a massive coordinated effort. That
it would take a lot of people to be in on the same thing.
Come on,
a lot of people to be in on the same thing. So I very much doubt it, but I just it's something to think about. Where I was like, okay, well, the only way that this works is
I do believe that the moon landing was faked.
Yeah.
And back to your point that they were so like there was this race to get to fucking the moon.
That's why they did it.
And then we've never gone back.
Well, I don't know. No, we have. After Apollo 11, they went back. I think they went back 3 times.
Oh wait, did they play golf on it? Right?
Yeah,
remember the dude that played golf on it?
Apollo 13 was supposed to go to the moon.
So is those footage way different than the first one? See, I've never really looked into this.
So actually, it's very interesting that you say that because if you watch the second time that we went, that's where a lot of the conspiracy theories will say like, look at this footage because there's one clip of an astronaut who falls over, and then with almost no effort is just picked back up. Now, there's less gravity on the moon, but there's still, he would have had to push or do something with his arms to where he would be like that. So it's
still have to have some kind of...
The footage is strange from the second one. The footage... Now, here's what I think. I think we went to the moon at some point. But it wasn't in 1969. No. It wasn't.
That's what I'm saying. Like they were in such a race to get there that they had to prove.
We figured out flight in the 20s, sometime in the 20s.
Earlier than that, I think it was the teens. But.
Okay, in the teens, and then you're telling me in 1969. You're telling me 50 years later.
Yes, but see, this comes back to the alien theories. Is that they supposedly we got a hold of some alien technology, like there was a crash, and they did the reverse engineering, and so then because we had this technology and it went faster and faster as they got more and more into this craft.
But the technology that was on that first moon landing, I mean, if you look into it, it seems it's unbelievable. Here's what you're saying to me.
I don't think it takes a whole lot. The hardest part about that whole trip was getting off of the planet, I believe.
No, getting off the planet is not hard for us. We can do that. What's absolutely fucking bonkers, and I don't see the math behind, is that you aim, you shoot, you attach a ship to a rocket, the rocket shoots off, you disengage that rocket, you don't need it anymore because now you're in zero gravity, right? And now we are such good mathematicians that we have figured out how to glide through space, which we have very, very little knowledge of. We have figured out how to glide through it, aim at the moon, get into the moon's orbit. So we're going to take our giant spaceship. We're going to go into the moon's orbit. Cool. Now we're hanging out in the moon's orbit. We knew that was going to work, right? How the fuck they figured that out?
It's math.
Like, that'll definitely work. So once we get there, we're going to send out a module. We're going to send out another little pod that is going to float down onto the surface of a place that we've never been before, and we're going to land that thing on the moon. I mean, that's the part of it that I go, hold the fuck on. We just figured out how to get planes in the air. We just figured out how to go from fucking LA to New York. And you're telling me that you shot a ship up into zero gravity into space that you don't know about, and then you figured out how
But
to
it
glide
wasn't the
them.
first time that we had sent things into space, though. Supposedly, I mean, there was
Supposedly.
other space travel,
Supposedly,
right?
and
Essentially, it's just all math. I'm not saying. Again,
Supposedly.
I don't think that we landed on that either. I think that was.
I just don't think we did it in 1969. I think that maybe at some point we've been back, and at some point there's been more legitimate technology that got us there. But in 1969, you got to be fucking shitting me. And if you go back and you watch that whole thing about when they did it, they're in a hoopty. They've got shit pieced together with. They're like, yeah, we duct tape that over there, and it'll be fine. We'll make it. Like, no, I doubt it very much that you're gonna make it. But I don't know about the moon land and the whole Stanley Kubrick thing.
They just need to, they needed to beat Russia.
If you go down that rabbit hole too of Stanley Kubrick being paid for 2001: A Space Odyssey, that was the biggest budget that had ever been given to a movie. It was a monster. I don't know what it was for at the time, but it was like almost like $1 million at the time. It was a huge budget. No movie had ever been given that. And the movie's good. If you go back and watch 2001: A Space Odyssey, you're like, wow, for the time that they made this movie, the CGI or the way that they kind of did things, it was really cool. I don't know if they spent that much money on making 2001: A Space Odyssey. A lot of people from that time go, where did that money go? Like there were rumors of people the other conspiracy is that the studio was involved with the conspiracy, and they were paid by the government to listen. We'll give you the money so that he can make this really, really nice moon landing footage for us because we need this movie that looks incredible that we can put on TV. But even like how small TV was at that time. They hadn't even really figured out much about TV. TV was kind of brand new. It came around in the 30s and the 40s, and it was like all black and white and whatever. And now you're telling me that we're putting footage up from the moon. We're going directly from the moon?
Yeah,
and we're filming this live?
Yeah.
Nah, man.
Yeah.
Nah way. Flat Earth, I admitted in the last one that I was a flat earther for about a week. But that was just me watching a bunch of YouTube footage, and then I watched like one of the guys that like he was doing it the most, and he like at the same time as me becoming a flat earther, his videos were like popping off, and he was gonna have a live thing where he got somebody to take him up over out of the atmosphere so he could see the Earth, and like he sees the curve of the Earth and he starts crying. And I remember watching the video and being like, oh man, well, if he doesn't believe it, he's like the main one. I was listening to all his videos, and if he don't believe it, this definitely is not true. So, yeah.
I think that
it's hard to get behind the flat Earth. It's hard to get behind the flat Earth.
I like the hollow Earth. Have you gotten into that one?
I've looked into the hollow Earth. It's hard for me because we do so much drilling. So. What are those people?
We're not drilling that far.
I mean, pretty far.
Well, again, it's not like...
So the idea of the hollow Earth is what? Like the core is hollow?
That there is no core, really. It's not the core like they've told us. You know, like we've been told like there's like a fucking, nickel solid core. And then there's layers of it. And then there's like the fucking... magma and then the mantle and the crust and all that shit. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, supposedly that's. I'll send you some videos. But like in physics, so Einstein's theory of relativity then changed Newton's law of gravity, so that based on some of these numbers, if you run it, that the Earth is actually not nearly as the mass isn't nearly as much as what they had figured with these different figures, and so there's a whole bunch of different things.
So in this. The Earth is more like the Earth is round cheese. Still in the hollow Earth.
Yes, but it's more like it's full of holes and like tunnels and cheese and whatever. Anyways, there's like Middle Earth, and so like the craziest thing to me is I think it's Lieutenant Dennis Byrd or whatever that was supposed to be that like was the government sent him to explore the North Pole, and that he tells this story of getting to the North Pole and going into this beautiful place and like hundreds of or like thousands of miles into this place. And what's really crazy is that, did you know that you're not allowed to fly over the poles, either pole?
Yeah.
There's no footage, there's no satellite footage of either poles, and if you can get it, it's blocked out. And supposedly, you know, like as you get closer to the poles, it gets warmer, and there's like light and like maybe even like, you know how the northern lights and shit shine out of, and like you can see it on a bunch of different planets or whatnot. I forget what the
Aurora Borealis.
Yeah. Anyways, so and then also supposedly the Nazis. That's where the Nazis disappeared to. Like Hitler and his top guys and like 1 million people apparently went to Antarctica and have built this in the.
Yeah, send me. Oh, I'm gonna go down that for sure. I'll go down that for sure.
And then they do the science and shit behind you. You're like, what the fuck?
Interesting.
I'll send you some.
9/11. Like I said,
the way they build these buildings, they are like massive structures, and there's absolutely no way flying a plane into it, especially that high.
No way.
Was taking out the whole building.
No way.
It looked like a fucking.
It looked like a demolition. And if you watch the conspiracy theory videos of like there's a guy that he does tests for the cops of when bombs go off, like demolition bombs or any kind of explosive, and he went down to right after it happened and was testing tests. And there was demolition, there was like explosive dust all over the bottom. Now what they combat that with is that when the building got so hot and was coming down and everything was just steel on steel, it made like
it doesn't burn.
No. And he even said, he's like, no, this is a different chemical that's in this dust. There's footage.
And then so rocket fuel only burns at a certain temperature, right? And to take out steel like that, you need a much
and like you said, if it's that high,
right?
Let's say the fire gets down.
It was
half
way
the
up.
Let's say it gets down half the building.
Yeah.
Okay. Well then, realistically, in your theory of that the fire is causing it to fall, then the top part of the building would have fell first.
Right. So if the top part
crumbled and it would have parts of it would have broke off.
Okay. So the way that they fell, right? It was momentum, right?
Yeah.
So if it was the top floors that were getting all this stuff, it wouldn't affect the bottom floors like that.
Not all at once.
No.
Not all of a sudden it just comes in on itself.
No fucking
way. Building 7 that had all the financial documents for like a bunch of different people, a bunch of high-end people, and it collapsed all on its own.
It probably took care of some things that we don't even know about. But the main thing is that nobody batted a fucking eye when they invaded Iraq.
Nope.
Nobody gave a shit. And it wasn't even Iraq.
It wasn't even Iraq. I mean,
and then they came out and they didn't find any weapons of mass destruction. But fuck, we're already here. We already got the oil.
Is it a coincidence that his father fought Saddam Hussein?
Oh,
is it a coincidence that family was first in the Gulf War, where they wanted so badly? And what stopped George W. Sr. from going through with everything they wanted to do? The red tape. Well, you can't do this yet because Saddam hasn't necessarily.
Well, the reason we got into that war is because he invaded Kuwait, and
but so then we went to America.
We went to help Kuwait.
So the American people told George W. Sr., you can't go and kill Saddam Hussein because he hasn't done anything to the American people. He's only attacked Kuwait. You can't do anything. This has nothing to do with us. You got to stop this. So
he
George
created his own Pearl
So then
Harbor.
9/11 fixes that.
Created
no one
Pearl
batted
Harbor.
an eye. Go kill them all.
Yeah.
They had the
all of them.
They had the highest enlist rate.
Yeah,
ever in the history of this country. Everyone was like, you know what? I'm gonna go fucking kill him
because we watched that. We
watched that shit on TV, and we're like,
everybody
oh my god,
where were you?
Where were you on 9/11?
I mean, like the brainwashing that went on that day, bro.
Yeah.
The fucking Americanism. Yeah. Oh god, it makes me sick because I was part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, we all had American flags hanging off our fucking
I didn't have American flags, but I was still,
But like,
but then also, bro, what really pisses me off about it is that it really does condition your brain to think a fucking certain way. Because if I see, I mean, and I'm well past it now, but there's still that initial like judgment if I see anybody from the Middle East.
Especially at an airport.
Initially.
If you see a Middle Eastern person in an airport,
you got your eye on them and shit. Like, what the
they
fuck,
just go
dude?
to that, and it's
really pisses me off.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
really
crazy.
pisses me
and
off.
I 100% believe that there are things that we don't know about. Like you said, like it took care of things that we don't know about. You look at so many,
the Pentagon. There's also like, isn't there like a fucking fighter jet like within seconds of all these fucking commercial flights if anything was to happen, and then for whatever reason these little not that day they were delayed or they had some fucking get the
like
fuck out of here.
50% of the people
the Pentagon? There's no way a fucking plane's getting within miles of the Pentagon.
And if you see the hole that the plane made at the Pentagon, first of all, there's only one footage of the plane hitting the Pentagon. It's from a security of like a drive up, like where you drive up and you're like, checking in of like a parking lot.
Right.
And it doesn't look like a plane at all. It looks like a missile. It looks like a missile flew in.
From one of those F-15s that we couldn't find.
And if you look at the area that the Pentagon spot that got blown up,
and
had
also like,
all the secretive files from like the last 30 years from all these different senators.
And I think that if you look at the damage that it was done, and then you look at how a plane would have had to done that, like it would have had to like fly like
straight
really
to the ground.
low and almost like
impossible flight.
Come on,
man.
Get the fuck out of here.
And listen, people that I would talk to people in New York, they would get very upset with me because, again, it was right there in their backyard. They knew people that died.
Only because we remember it.
Right. It hurts.
It was one of the
like. There's pain there. But I'm just saying, open your mind to the fact that the government does fucked up shit, and they have done fucked up shit.
Fuck with you.
To Americans.
To
control your mind.
Yes.
So
that was extreme, and it hurts. And it hurts to even think that they would do that.
But it happens.
That's the kind of fucked up people they
definitely happens. And going into chemtrails, I mean, that's what chemtrails is about. There's a lot of different layers of chemtrails.
So I was watching this thing the other day about, it's true, like all of the governments are fucking with controlling the weather. And apparently here in Texas is one of the main places where they're fucking doing it.
No wonder we have some of the craziest weather that you'll ever see. We get some of the craziest.
So, here's my thing. So they're absolutely doing this, right? They're pulling moisture, they're creating clouds, and then they're getting rainfall in places that wouldn't normally get it. So does that take rainfall away? I mean, you're changing the weather. It's like the butterfly effect.
See, I don't know, because I think that this is so far beyond my comprehension. Like, what they could, how they figured out that they can do this. First of all, how some scientists was like, hey, I can fuck with the clouds. And they were like, what?
We can do that.
And then that's just the weather part of it, which is wild. So are they deciding when hurricanes hit and where hurricanes hit? Are they picking when to cause a drought? Are they picking when
I think that's the side effects to what they can't control.
It might be because we fucked with it just a little bit.
Because we've changed it
fights back against us.
So you're fucking with everything.
But then there's also that they're putting shit in the air.
Yeah, I don't doubt that either.
Get into our lungs where it controls us.
I mean, is it really that inconceivable that we don't need this many fucking people on the planet?
Yeah. Or that pesticides were a thing? Do we not understand that they sprayed pesticides all over vegetables all growing up?
Back to the movies are conditioning us. Thanos, everybody knows this. They're conditioning for half the fucking population to go.
Oh God, is that what you think? That's why you think they put Thanos out there?
It might not be for another 15 to 20 years. But you're gonna see.
Hold on.
You're gonna see that same theory.
But Thanos, that was what he believed in the comic books too, though.
Oh, was
that? In the comic books, that was his main.
I don't really know about. the comic.
That was his main objective in the comics. To rap.
This is getting it into so. Then maybe the popular, I don't know, man.
I don't know, but I mean, and that goes into COVID a little bit. I think that COVID is the first kind of test that they ran
Right.
to see
if what we would what can happen.
Big of a thing. How much can we wipe out? Okay, that wasn't that bad. We wiped out quite a few, but not as many as we thought we would. How much of a panic can we cause? Cool. Can we get them to quarantine in their homes? Oh wow, we got them to do that. You won't ever get it in Texas again, but you did do it at one point. You got us all to stay home. I say it again. Texas will never have a quarantine again. I guarantee it. You will never see a quarantine in Texas again.
They can absolutely do it.
For sure. Never. You know why? Because Texans are the loudest as far as the people. There's so many of us, by the way. The population in Texas is wild. It's full of gun wielding cowboys.
Yeah, but we all obeyed. We all obeyed
to a certain extent
for a while.
The rest of the country looks at us as we are the Wild Wild West.
True,
we're the ones that very
so
first
then we're
like,
the problem. So then they have to do more tests on people like us.
Wow. Whatever.
And so then that's the conditioning. That's the conditioning part. It has to start slowly,
Let me tell you, the Texas governors and the people that are from Texas and people that are Texas police officers all the way down, they know that if, let's just say theoretically, the higher-ups came and said, hey, listen, we're going to be kicking down doors. This is going to be much more of a dictatorship. Like, we need y'all to get behind this, and y'all are gonna join us, and we're gonna control these people a little bit. Everybody from top to bottom who is in charge of a Texas government, judicial, whatever, they're gonna look at you and go, "Hey, this might work in your little blue state, but you're talking about a war. You are talking about chaos like you've never experienced in your life." You cannot go into Texan homes and say, hey, you got to do this. You can a little bit, and you might get away with it. And you're talking about in a blue or in a blue city that is Houston, Texas, that is Austin, that is Dallas, because there is such a big population. There is more left wing. But in middle Texas, where these guys are strapped for the apocalypse, there's no fucking way.
For sure.
Good luck approaching some of these cities.
Anyways,
They didn't either. Yeah, none of those cities in the middle. They were like, "What? I'm sorry. No, I'm gonna go down to the Piggly Wiggly and get me whatever the fuck I want. I need to go get a case of Milwaukee's Best every single day." No, they don't drink Milwaukee's Best.
It's Lone Star.
It's Lone Star. But yeah, I think that COVID, and this is a touchy subject because it can get you in trouble, but I don't give a fuck. Fuck you, algorithm. The COVID absolutely was a. Oh yeah. I mean, it was created in a lab. Planned. We've learned this now that it was created in a lab.
The biggest thing that we learned was the media manipulation. Yeah. That was the big. I mean, no. God. I mean, did you?
What was that little Keebler elf? I don't even know his name. Everyone else swears by his.
Did I send you that thing that video that Matt sent me about how it wasn't even a virus, that it was poison, like it was like venom, like snake poison?
Oh Jesus! No, I didn't see that one.
I should send you that one for. That'll twist your mind a little bit.
But I mean,
the production on that one, you're like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I have a lot of very dark thoughts about what they did with COVID, and it is because of the control. It is because of the media. What was that fucking Fauci? If I would have asked you 4 years ago who Dr. Fauci was, you would have had no fucking idea. And you get people preaching at you like Dr. Fauci is he's the god. Like he is. Well, Dr. Fauci said, like, what the fuck is? I don't care what that little tiny bitch said. I don't give a fuck what his weak ass immune system said. Get this fucking mask off me. I don't own a mask. I don't have one. I don't have one. I
still see people with masks. Dude.
Oh my god, it blows my mind.
You know what it is now?
I think
did we say it? No, it's just the only people wearing masks now are ugly. We'll just have to assume that.
Yeah, they're all. Yeah,
I mean, like.
I get it.
You're ugly.
You're ugly.
You're
like,
ugly,
this is
girl.
better for me. I don't have to people looking at me and judging me. You know, like I'll just be ugly underneath my mask. And I think that's a lot of it. I also think that some people are just such sheep. Some people are such sheep. They will see anything.
But now it's far beyond sheep. Like if you were a sheep, you go with the herd. The herd ain't wearing masks. These are the people that are like either
they went and got vaccinated, and
that's what I'm saying. They're like so far beyond the like
I don't know.
into the fear realm.
I guarantee you they never quarantine in Texas again. I promise.
Those people will probably always wear masks for the rest of their lives.
Inside their cars, as they take showers, when they fuck.
That's sad.
I mean, it's just so sad. The other thing that I don't believe it, but I did see a whole thing about how birds are drones, or birds are robots.
All of them?
All birds are robots, yeah. And that they're flying around and they're watching us and they're listening to us.
So
and
did they replace all the natural birds, or didn't we like?
That's the question.
Or have they always been?
You know, there's been times in history where you've seen like all the birds like fall out of the sky and die and stuff, and people have said like that's the robots like turning off or things like that. But I mean, people hunt birds, so it would be hard for me. I was talking about all birds,
like chicken too, because chicken's a fucking bird.
Sure that's a bird.
I got some of that in my house right now.
I'm pretty sure that turkey's still a thing.
So I'm eating robots.
Yeah, I didn't go all the way down that one, but I did for a second. I watched the video and giggled and said, okay.
Well, what would be even more? So apparently the technology is more like they're gonna be like robot flies. Like that's what they're like.
That's terrifying.
Something that's even smaller to where you're not.
Now, could I believe that they've like sent out one drone bird to give it a test?
There might be several of them. There might be a whole fuckload of them.
They're just hanging out.
All of them?
They're hanging out on a power line with these other live birds, and the live birds are like, what the fuck is up with this guy? He smells crazy. I don't think he has blood in him. And then, he never eats. He never shits. He just chills with us. He does fly with us perfectly, though. This is weird. Yeah, I could see that, but the fact you replace all birds, probably not.
Here's the problem. I don't think we have that kind of technology to... Have we ever been able to replicate bird flight? Because like what we have, like drone flight, we can do all that kind of shit, but it doesn't look the same way. You know what I'm saying? Like to build
they've made animatronic birds. I've
that
seen
can
them
fly?
Yes, because if they make the plastic or whatever light enough, and then they can recreate the wing motion. So it's not flight in the same controlled way where like a bird can like so perfectly like glide through the air, but I've seen it where they can get it to go in the air and they can get it to come down. But it's like you said, it doesn't look the same way. It's not natural where they've created flight the same way a bird can. And to dive,
it seems like a more difficult thing to do.
Yes.
Than the drone technology. You know?
Yes. But yeah. Man, this has been a 2-hour show.
Wow.
That's it for conspiracies. We went down all the rabbit holes.